Hello and welcome to the last day of the Lisbon Tourism Summit 2021. Today, I'm in a very special venue, this wonderful hotel in the heart of Lisbon, Pestana Palace and National Monument. Pestana Palace Lisboa is one of the most iconic hotels in the city and the flagship hotel of Portugal's leading hospitality company, Pestana Hotel Group. This forward-thinking hospitality company owns and manages more than 100 hotels in 16 countries worldwide, where the motto is to provide guests with the time of your life. The Pestana Hotel Group has been supporting Beta I in the journey since its very beginnings, pursuing and supporting innovative solutions for the future of tourism in Portugal. Before I head back to the studio, where a selection of keynote speakers and panelists are waiting for you, let me just invite you to come here at Pestana Palace Hotel and join us for a networking event this evening. Make sure you have signed up and don't miss a wonderful in-person networking brought to you by Beta I and Turismo de Portugal. See you here. Good morning, you all. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me here at the studio on day 3 of the Lisbon Tourism Summit. What a week, right? Yesterday we have learned about the revolution in communication through AI, how technology optimizes operation in the context of smart cities, and met another finalist startup of the journey, Parsempo. We chat with their corporate partners, Parques de Sintra and Citirama, and had the opportunity to be inspired by some innovation sparks. And today, as always, we'll be full of remarkable speakers and panels again. With this being said, let's check today's agendas. First things first, we will start with our 2 days panel about the role of startups during the pandemic and in the post-COVID environment. We will have our LTS quest of the day, and then our first innovation sparks with Proximio and Tripper pitches. The keynote speaker will be Chris Carmichael, with a great experience in working in travel and into amusement. Later in the morning, we will have another innovation sparks with PPay and Turno.pt. And finally, we will hear Mr. Rui Inácio, the Director of Regional Policy at the National Agency of Development Cohesion. And for the closing remarks, we will welcome Secretary of State for Tourism, Mrs. Rita Marques. Please don't forget you are part of this. You can always participate with comments and questions in the Q&A section. So, let's start. The first panel of the day will discuss the impact of startups in the pandemic and post-pandemic era. Please welcome Sérgio Guerreiro from Turismo de Portugal, who will be moderating this debate to the stage. Good morning, Sérgio. How are you?
Good morning, Mariana. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Perfect.
So the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for everything, and thank you to Beta for organizing this event. I think it's in these times, in this period that we're living, is a very challenging task, and we are glad to be here. I have the pleasure to moderate the next panel on the role of startups during pandemic and a post-COVID environment. I'm responsible for this area at Turismo Portugal, and I'm a very enthusiast of the role of startups and the role that they've been playing. I have the pleasure to moderate today's panel with not only excellent entrepreneurs but very good friends. So I would like to call on stage Felipe Avila da Costa, co-founder and CEO of InfraSpeak. Good morning, Felipe.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Happy to be here.
José Pedro Almeida, founder and CEO of Accelerate. Hello, José. Good morning. I'm not hearing you okay. I'm not hearing you okay. I guess your sound is okay. Okay, so now I have also would like to call Tiago Araújo, co-founder and CEO of IGFI. Hello, Tiago, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
And finally, Ricardo Figueiredo, co-founder and CEO of Luggit.
Morning.
Guys, my pleasure to be here today with you and have a chat on the role of startups and your role here on a post-COVID environment. And I would like to propose that our focus to be more on the future and the role that we can all as a community play for pushing back the sector. The first question that I want to put on you is the following. The last 18 months have been, I would say, a period of acceleration of the use of technology in the tourism sector. How do you live this time in your companies, and what's your evaluation of it? So perhaps I would start with Philippe.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy times, right? So in this last 18 months, I think we all had to learn how to reinvent the business, to adapt to what's going on. In our case, specifically in InfoSpeak, as we work mostly with the back office operation, I would say like the maintenance, the cleaning, the inspections, everything related to the hotels and other areas, ops, I would say. I believe most of our customers in the hotel sectors, but also travel agencies, airports that we work with as well, had to learn to be digital. And they were somehow forced to jump to this digital transition because they had to make sure that all the things in the operation was running as it was supposed to be. And if in the past people want to hide those kind of operations from the guests, with the COVID was the opposite. We want to show off. We want to somehow prove that the maintenance of the air conditioning, the cleaning was going on, so we could make sure the right routines were in place. So it was a mix of helping our customers to adapt to this new concept, and at the same time answering to this new demand of new digitalization. And what we saw was that people that were somehow not willing to make the jump before, since they were forced to do, they learned that the teams adapted really well, and they kind of integrate this new digital operation in the current operation. So was a tough change, but in the end of the day, I think was good for everybody.
So it was more of a stress test that basically companies had to make because there were no other options. Now I move to José. Perhaps you in your case the slide was a slight different because you rely on operations that actually went in some cases locked down for a period of time. But how did you live this period, and how do you see the progress with engagement with the industry?
Thank you, Sergio. Do you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, that's good. So thank you for the invitation, and good morning to everyone. Well, it has been quite a journey because indeed we do rely on operations and on hotels. We work on hotels. And the main thing here is that, well, I remember the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, receiving calls from almost every customer calling us saying, well, we like you very much, we like your system, but again, we are not having any reservations for now. So why do we need a system right now to manage the price and the analytics on my hotel? So most of them were asking us to suspend contracts or try to renegotiate or see if there was any kind of help we could provide them on those first weeks. So it was quite difficult for us because at the time we didn't have any historic. We couldn't forecast anything. So it was very difficult for us to understand how could we help hoteliers passing through this tough stage. But again, it had also some positive sides here because at the time we had launched our forecast tool, which is based on artificial intelligence, also based on historical patterns as well. So we found out that the gap we had at the time against our main competitors was huge, because we were just launching our AI model, and they were here on the market for quite a few years. So we found out that we basically had all started again, understanding how can we redefine and fine-tune the artificial intelligence models, and understanding how could we adapt to these new changes. So again, now that everything is stabilizing again, now that we see the patterns coming back again, now that our forecast and accuracy are getting back again as well, we found out that the gap we had before is much lower now in terms of artificial intelligence. So there was some kind of good things here on the COVID era, and also in terms of internal changes that we made in the company. So one of the things on our job is making sure that hoteliers, they understand the tool, they understand how to use the tool as well. So it requires a lot of training, a lot of being there by their side. So we changed the models that we had. So we were doing some in-person trainings, which required a lot of effort on our side, being there, having the travel and the trips, going to the hotels, having a training with a lot of people as well. So we changed all that for on-demand videos. So we gain a lot of efficiency in terms of the models and the processes that we now have in place. So not everything has been bad. Of course, the first times have actually been very, very, very tough. But now that we are now just passing through that phase, we understand that definitely we had some great, good things coming from that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jose. I think the industry suffered significantly during this period, but I think you've proved your point. I think it's lessons learned from this period, and how can we take out of this some good inputs for the future. I think it's a great perspective on. Now I'd like to move to Tiago Araújo.
Sure. I can just say that it was a hell of a ride for us, to be honest. But from one end, one thing that I've noticed a lot while talking with other companies, other entrepreneurs, etc., was that you can always see the glass half empty or half full. And to be honest, being an early stage startup helped us a lot, because an early stage startup, we're able to adapt quite rapidly. Any startup, I would say, is able to adapt really rapidly, but being an early stage and not having many employees makes you adapt even faster. And from our end, it was a hell of a ride, because before COVID was announced as a global pandemic, we had our seed round closed, meaning that we did a handshake with our investor and it was closed in February. And then it happened out that COVID was announced as a pandemic, and the investor called us saying, we're not moving forward and we're not doing the investments. We have no idea where COVID is going. So we had to make sure that the company was viable. That was our first step. And after the company being viable, what we understood was that, okay, we do close annual contracts with our clients, but this has to be something, it's a hit that the company, HiGiffy, has to take too, and we need to help our clients. So what we did was we gave a monthly fee for free while the hotel was closed. The contract would be extended in the same time the hotel was closed. So this was what we were giving back to our clients, and we understood that, okay, this will have a really, really nice impact on a positive on the churn rate and the cancellation that our clients have. And then after that, together with two more people that are actually here, we understood that we had to help the community. And there came the fantastic Tech for COVID, where HiGiffy was involved on Rooms Against COVID. And I have to say that it was marvelous, and it had an amazing impact on our team. Them being involved or in something more, and during all this confusing time, but being involved in the community, it was really, really special for the team and for me for sure, but for the rest of the team. And then we understood, okay, we need to fight back, and we can't be here like hibernating, right? We need to do something. And we rapidly understood that there was an amazing opportunity for us. That was most of the staff going furlough and not working. But still, hotels had a lot of communication to deal with, starting from people that had bookings done and wanted to cancel or change or modify the dates, until when we understood, okay, summer is going to happen. People will want to go 2020 in summer. They're going to want to go on holidays. But they do have a lot of questions, and they do have a lot of concerns while with the pandemic. And that's where we understood, okay, now is a chance that hotels are going for chatbots or nothing, because they didn't have staff to reply. And during 2020, we were able to grow 150%. And that was an amazing year for us. We managed to close finally our fundraising, and our current investor, we have a lot of jokes around it because our valuation grew a lot. So we've closed later, but with a higher valuation. And then when everything was looking marvelous, we got another hit, right? On Q1 2021, with another hit of most of our clients closing, or most of everything closing. But still, it was an amazing time for us to hire, to onboard people that now are adding, that already ramped up within the team and are already adding value this Q4, let's say, in HiGFeed. And I have other thing to say, that is what we felt was not only the part of customer care was to deal with, but adding on top of that, we felt that hoteliers wanted to digitalize the whole guest experience, and having a contactless guest experience was really important. And so we have another product for that is our virtual concierge, that is through WhatsApp, and we were able to sell that product too. So it was a hell of a ride. It looks like the overall was quite positive, but it was quite painful at the same time.
Thank you, Tiago. I think, well, you see your glass half full, so I think it's great news, and I believe you did a tremendous job. And you also mentioned the Tech for COVID initiative that you guys developed among the startups community. I think that was, I would say, very important. I remember that the OECD highlighted this initiative as one of the most promising initiatives worldwide. So it's from Portugal to the world, a very, I would say, collective and very useful initiative for the community that was suffering. And a lot of people, and by the community is not only the travel and tourism industry as a whole, but the health community that was helping us during this period. So congrats on that. I think it was also a proof of the role that startups could play within a very difficult period. Now I move to Ricardo Figueiredo from Luggett. Ricardo, good morning.
Yes.
How are you?
Hi, Sergio. Hello, good morning. First of all, thanks for the invitation. As the last person to speak, I think most of the things are already said. But from my point of view and from Leggett's point of view, it's been a hell of a ride as well. I think we can correlate some ups and some downs during these 18 months, as you referred, because in our case, we didn't have like a historic or something to back up our decisions, because we were mainly started. So when COVID hit, we had like 4 months of operating in Lisbon and Porto, which was pretty new back then. So everything was starting, the operation, the hirings, and we started the year of 2020 full recharged with our pre-seed round raised at the end of the year of 2019. And so we had a clear path, a clear vision, and a clear way to go. When things, of course, happened, as Tiago referred, and you as well, Sergio, it was very important, the Tech for COVID initiative. From our point of view, and I shared a lot this journey, especially with Philippe and also with Tiago, we changed it, to be honest, we changed it completely in just 1 week. We changed it to collect and deliver luggage to collect and deliver personal goods that people can send to families, goods, friends, whatever, or even other stuff that should be moved and we could help. This at the beginning was moved completely by heart. It was not a rational decision at all. It was a decision just to try to help the community and help our network of drivers as well to keep alive, because they are already felt that COVID was hit as well. And so we understood that, okay, first learning, we could move more things than luggage. And so in the beginning of the pandemic, we started to test, and as a small startup, like Thiago said, we are able to adapt fast. And we started to test another ways of business and another ways of keeping alive, because every traveler is our customer, or were our customer. The B2C way, we were a pure B2C platform, was stopped. With that learning, we understood that probably we should change a bit our approach. And as the beginning, we were just a mobile app that allowed people to request a driver. And so we understood that with this digitalization, our partners, which means short-term rental companies, hotel chains, travel agencies, so on, every company that deals with their guests, probably luggage or other requests, can have a more aware spirit right now regarding digitalization, as my colleagues said in the beginning. And this opened our doors, because from the learning we took, first, we move it and detect for COVID process. Then testing another stuff, we understood that our solution could be improved in order to be integrated into any company that wants to deal with this or offer solutions instead of answering questions to their guests. And so this was pretty cool for us, because it allowed us to shift our company from a B2C pure side to a B2B2C, and with that, grow a lot. And over the last months, we are witnessing huge growth. We opened one more city, and the feedback that we are getting, despite all of the things that were stopped during almost the month of 2020, was that with this kind of change, right now, hoteliers and even short-term rental property managers can automatize everything, and the solution is the same from their guests. So I think this can be a point that we will discuss about the digitalization and the aware of the industry regarding these kind of solutions that we all provide. Yeah.
Thank you, Ricardo. I think wrapping up this first round, I think this was a period of, for startups, very important in terms of trust. I believe now the industry trusts on your ability to deliver, to solve problems. I think that was a very important takeaway. I think you also showed up resilience, which is a very important thing, and the need to adapt your business in a very uncertain model. But now we're living, I would say, and let's look a little bit.
Sergio?
Yes?
If you let me complement one thing before maybe we move on to other question. I think there was a really symbolical thing during this COVID-19 and this Tech for COVID-19 initiative. And by the way, for people that doesn't know, so we basically, a group of tech startups start working together in the teams, and then there were more people getting involved. In the end of the day, was 5,500 volunteers involved in around 40, 50 projects to help to overcome. And there was specific cases like InfraSpeak case that we did this place checkup that allow people to have a simple checklist to mitigate the risk of contamination, or the case of luggage that like we move it, the solution that allow people to move things from one side to the other in a safe way. But there was also some specific projects that not only put a lot of different startups together, but also involve the industry, involved other players. And one of those cases is one of the projects that Thiago and Hajif team were involved, this Hotels Against COVID, that involved a large group of tech startups, involved many hotels as partners, involved local authorities, and overall some like mobility companies as well, after a while, the government later on. So was incredible how in a very, very short term, the main players plus the agility of the tech startups combined generate something so powerful that helped hundreds of health workers. And I think this is actually a good example of what happens in the rest of the time, right? Outside of the pandemics, is when we have the key players, when we have like the industry as a whole looking for the agility of startups to help them overcome specific projects and somehow working together to build a solution, then is when the really cool innovations happens, and when then you have the impact in the business and the impact in the industry. So I think it was amazing because everything was so fast, and the fact that the community got together to fight against the COVID. But I think it was a great example of what can happen when we do that step, right? When we take the leap of working together with startups and pushing for new solutions.
Yeah. Thank you, Philippe, for that note. We also did Portugal Clean and Safe with InfraSpeak, and it was, I would say, very important for us also to have a tool to reach out all our community and to involve also the customers within the process. I think customer centricity was the last point that I wanted to put. I think your success also is based on customer centricity and solving the problems of your customers and your customers, your clients' customers. So thinking a little bit about the future and building on the learnings that we have, we are now living a different environment. I hope that we will live it for a long time, which is we're now thinking about recovery and looking for recovery. Since June, the operations are totally different. We are growing as a sector. We have already passed the figures of 2020. And I think we're all moving in the right direction. How do you see the role that technology and startups can add to promote recovery and sustainable recovery for the industry? Perhaps now I would like to. I'll start with Isabel.
Well, Sergio, you just mentioned it. You mentioned the word trust, and again, it's a very difficult thing to gain, especially from on a phase where everything around us is changing. So we see that the world is changing at a very fast pace, especially when it comes to tourism. Things out there are not the same as it used to be 5 years ago or 3 years ago. We see that the patterns on the reservations are changing a lot. We see a lot of cancellations growing. We see that people are making their reservations at last minute. The length of stays in terms of the times where they're going to stay, the kind and type of hotels that are staying as well. This is all been changing over the past 2 years. So I would say that the role of startups, and this might sound polite, but it's not just about polite or saying good things or words that sound good, is definitely being by their side. So I would say that the companies need startups to be there. We are the ones that are also changing the world, that are aware of what's happening out there. I saw over the last 2 years a lot of companies doing a great job in terms of providing new data sources, providing information that is useful for managing to take their decisions. I saw a great job coming from Turismo de Portugal with their platform of Travel BI, updating on a daily basis with key information on flights, key information on reservation patterns, or understanding what was happening on the main feed markets. So, and this was just one of the examples. There were quite a few other examples here in Portugal and out there as well, providing information for the hotels to understand whether or not tourism was being recovering, which were the markets that were reserving, which were the patterns of the reservations. So, and we were the ones, and I remember doing some webinars promoting those initiatives. It was nothing to do with Accelerate itself directly, but actually at the end of the day, we were also in there. We are part of the industry. We are their partners when it comes to increasing their revenues. So we understood, well, we have a role here. We have to be by their side, understanding, promoting what is going there out there, understanding which were the best practices, whether or not other hoteliers were having success with some initiatives, new initiatives, understanding digital marketing, how it was growing, how it was adapting to this new world. So definitely one of the roles we have here, an important role that the startups have, is be there by their side and try to filtering all the noise that is going out there. And I see this on our very own example. So in terms of revenue management systems, well, this was actually something pretty new for most of the hoteliers 3 or 4 years ago. I remember seeing some stats in 2017 saying that only 5 to 10% of the hotels were using a revenue management system. And those 5 to 10% of hotels using it were mainly the big chains, international chains, that realized how important it is to have artificial intelligence and analytics all together to take sound decisions. It's not just about looking at what my competition is doing and following the competition. That doesn't work anymore. Didn't work before, but nowadays after COVID, definitely is not working anymore, because I don't know if my competitors are full, are empty, which are the markets that are working, which are the tools they have nowadays in place. So I really need to understand my reality first, and then understanding what is going on the market, understanding which are the patterns, which are the flows, so I can make my own decisions and get most out of it. So I believe that there will be 2 waves in terms of revenue management systems adoption. So I see now the first wave, that is, most hoteliers understood that they really need the tools. They really need to have a prediction, a forecast. They cannot look anymore for the next week or the next 2 weeks. They need to look ahead, understanding what is going on in terms of January sales, February, March, April, understanding whether or not people are already reserving for next summer. So they need to have the numbers in front of theirs and having it on an automatically manner. So there's no time anymore for copy paste or working around spreadsheets or having just part of information and taking decisions on a small part of information, because if we take a wrong decision now, we will definitely lose a lot of revenue and get less results for the 6 months ahead. So I see that this first wave is now taking place. I see a lot of hotels coming to us and to our competitors as well, to understanding which are the functionalities or the return on investment in terms of revenue management systems. But I truly believe on a second wave that will come and the rise over the next 1-2 years. So that's when they realize, well, yes, I do need a tool. I have used this tool first, but it doesn't work for me. So it's not adapted to my reality. And that is one of the things that is happening nowadays. With all these startups and all these new business models coming, most of us are doing a great effort to making sure that we are building tools that are adapted to the reality of most of the hotels. So we see that on the revenue management side as well. So we see that in 1-2 years ahead, most of the people will try to change revenue management systems because they tested the first one, doesn't work or doesn't has the tools they need, or it's much more complex than what they need for now. So we truly believe that this would be the role that we have. One, first, being there by their side now and understanding and helping them on the noise. 2, making sure that we are building tools and support to help them on the years ahead. It's not just a partnership for now, it's definitely making sure that we'll be there over the next years as well.
Thank you, José. I think you mentioned two important things. I think the world is becoming more and more complex, and uncertainty is the only certain thing that we have around us. And I think you put it on a very nice way of how to promote this and how can technology play a role here. And now I'll move to Tiago and to hear your perspective on this and your role in the recovery.
Yeah. So basically, HiGiffy has been attending various venues right now, and what we've been seeing is that the hot topic within hoteliers is the lack of staff, is the lack of being able to hire. And we're seeing a lot of people in the travel industry having a huge struggle with hiring people. First of all, personally, I have a quite strong opinion about that. I think that the industry needs to have better conditions and more attractive. And the industry itself, we need to work on that together. To be honest, and I know that this is quite polemic, I don't like to hear us talking about importing people. I like to hear the industry talking about having better conditions. A lot of people are now in jobs that they can work obviously remote. In the industry, that's difficult, I understand, and that don't need to work on shifts and that are better paid and they can work from their home. But still, we need to go as an industry and think about it. Okay, what does the industry have that is more interesting? But I think that any of the companies that are here today talking, we can piggyback on this, meaning that we can piggyback on our customers having a huge difficulty hiring. And why? Because everyone wants nowadays to automate as much their processes as possible, as they don't have staff to do it. And this was the huge shift that we managed HiGiffy to grow this last year and this year again, was on, okay, I have no other option. And I want to automate the processes as much as I can. And I still don't know if I'm going to hire. Then I'm going to hire, but I don't have candidates. And we can leverage on top of this on helping them automate the processes. And we can leverage on top of most of the people within the industry being now open to talk with us. And there was a huge shift too that is happening. That was the change from technologies like HiGiffy or others going from nice to have to must have, and now being a hot topic. And that's where I think that the industry is going through, and that's what I think that was so positive of the COVID era, on having people wanting to know more, and having people now interested, and having people now finding the time because they have no other option.
Thank you, Tiago. I think very good perspective. Now I'd like to move to Ricardo.
Yeah. From our point of view, I believe technology, it's all about time, right? Giving time to improve processes, to be efficient, to be smart, to be fast, and to provide, when we talk about tourism, better experience. Regarding Legit and our experience, our technology was built upon that premise, which is build the fastest and easier way so people can get rid of their luggage. And the main shift we are seeing right now, and I believe it's the path to the recovery, if we want to call it that way, is that, for instance, in the beginning, our pitch or our way to see the company was all about the customers, all about the travelers. But we understood that hoteliers, short-term rental property managers, travel agencies as well, as I said in the beginning, also felt and feel the pain of dealing with each one of their guest requests. And they did it manually. And our platform in the beginning didn't allow them to do it automatically. So once we start to shift our product to a more automatic way, as we are discussing, the industry is now much more aware of these kinds of solutions. I can give you an example. When pandemic hit, all of our partners, which mean companies that can recommend Legit to their guests, if we're speaking about hospitality partners, were all basically short-term rental property managers. Why? Because as the process was completely manual, they had the time to do it. A big hotel chain didn't have the time to do it with each request. So this was stopping our growth. And as soon as we understood that people and these kind of companies are now aware to adopt technology that they can automatize and again, give solutions before the customers asking questions, we starting to shift from that specific sector to hotel chains, travel agencies, and other kinds of companies, booking platforms, and so on, so they can integrate this kind of solution. So the way as I see the future is, to be honest, never going back, because people and companies are right now aware of the power of technology in order to increase their productivity and to be able to provide the other kind of experience that, as today, only the humans can provide. But I think that this is a great topic, and even I'm looking forward to the next question, because what can we do to improve? I think it's much important. But to be honest, I just see that the industry is not now much more aware of this and should be always aware of the power of technology.
Thank you, Philippe. Last question to you. You're the last one.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe opening the scope, we are adapting to this post-COVID era, but we also adapting to a lot of other things that are going on, right? So all these sustainability trends, the climate change, and the demand that's coming for more service correlated to that mindset, but also the energy costs rising, putting a lot of pressures in the business, especially in the hotel sectors and other similars in the tourism industry that actually consume a lot of energy. So having all these pressures, I think is kind of pushing the management teams and the operational teams as well to look for solutions that help them overcome and keep adapting in a fast way to what's going on. And like José was saying, like I think everybody in the world were looking for data during the COVID era, right? So people were looking for the numbers of the health systems, saying how many new cases and so on. So people also understood how useful was to have data to take decisions, and how the fact that having data allow us to make decisions and to react fast. So I think this combination of the need of constant adaptation plus the fact that having technology helps you to have data on time to make the right decisions was something that I believe will be a trend for now, right? People understanding that and applying to that. And just to complement, I think having the data is not enough, right? So then we need the tools, we need the mechanisms, the operations, the training for the team to act on top of the decisions. And that's where technology also plays a really important role, having the mechanisms, having the tools for the operational team, for the people on the ground to be the most efficient they can. And I fully align with what Tiago was saying. This lack of resources is a common topic in many conversations we have with customers. So as we can see here, there's so much things going on at the same time. And the only constant is that everything is always changing, right? So we must learn how to play in that arena, how to play that game.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I think excellent perspectives on this. Time is flying, and we could be here for hours. But I have a last question for you, which is something that, and we are part of an effort from, I would say, several years that we've been pushing for this, which is the adoption of technology by the companies in Portugal. You've touched on your presentations on this topic, and I would like to hear, and this is also an input for us as policymakers here, is what are the current barriers that you see? And I would like to ask you for short questions here, for short answers. What are the barriers that you still see that we need to overlap to make the adoption easier? We're talking about funding. Are we talking about awareness from the sector? Are we talking about skills? Are we talking about promotion and still promoting the role of startups within this environment? So very short questions, but I think I would like to go straight to the point, what we need to do. So what the future agenda for promoting this agenda. So perhaps I would like to start with Tiago.
Sure, I'll keep it really short. In my opinion, I think that the key thing, and replying only with one answer, is people feeling more comfortable with technology in general, and people in the industry, of course. And I think that the Tourism National Board, Tourism Portugal, has been doing an amazing job going through workshops where people really feel more comfortable and closer to technology. But still, I think that tech companies, such as the ones that are here today, we need to think about our products, such as Facebook thinks about their products, that it's so easy to have that even my mom, that is 70 years old, has a Facebook account. and she's not that tech savvy, and she makes it through Facebook, and she does her posts and everything. And we need to think in the same way of our technology being so easy to onboard, so easy to use on a daily basis, that people, when they see a demonstration from our sales team, they're not frightened, and they're not frightened to use it. So there's still a long way to go, and still a long way to close the gap between technology and the travel industry. And I think we're doing a good job, but with still a lot of challenges.
Thank you, Tiago. Like now, Ricardo.
Yes, I will also keep it very short. First of all, I would like to say that from what I see, and I'm now in Austria, in Vienna, launching the Legate we opened a few weeks ago. And I think that we must be aware of the amazing work I think we all do in Portugal regarding Tourism Portugal, BTI, these kind of events, the workshops that Tiago was saying, the involvement of the universities on this, every program or acceleration program. I think, to be honest, we see from other perspectives an amazing involvement in all the ecosystem with different stakeholders promoting an adoption of technology in the tourism sector. So I would like to start by saying this, because I think it's also important to understand where we are, and I feel that we are in a good path to evolve on that adoption. But as a step forward, I would say that we all agree that technology is now a key topic on the table, and it's very or more easy to adopt today than it was 18 months ago. What I think it could be improved, it's the way the companies, I'm not talking only about tech companies such we, but also about the companies that adopt our technology, in order to the decision makers of those companies to clearly understand how the process can change and how their companies will change internally and the processes in order for the adoption of the technology to really show results and really show a better way of doing business. So if I could say what we could do to improve this, I think can be also a more hands-on approach on giving every key stakeholder of the industry that perhaps can adopt the technology to understand clearly, involving universities, involving decision makers, involving thinkers about how the process can evolve within this technology.
Thank you. Felipe.
I'll probably split my answer in two parts, kind of these proven technologies and then the new players. I think for all the startups, more like scale-ups that are here, kind of already proven solutions. In our case specifically, we have like more than 500 hotels, more than 20 airports, like cruise companies and so on using. So we kind of already a reference in our area. So I see the main barrier at this point is basically this mindset of we always have done this way. Let's keep doing it this way. So I think we see a lot of people lagging behind already because of this mindset. But again, it's kind of easier for us to talk with people and to onboard new customers, as I believe is for most of the startups here. But I would definitely challenge the ecosystem, challenge the industry of keep looking for new solutions, like the new players. I think, as Ricardo was saying, the ecosystem of technology is really, really powerful in Portugal. And there is always new players, there's new people, and the willingness to try new stuff, to use this as a differentiation, to be an early adopter on new solutions, it pays back after a while. So I think by one side, we need to not lag behind, right? So to see what's going on and to see the good case studies that are there and adapt fast, but also to be innovative, also to look of new solutions and give it a try, even for the solutions that are not that proven yet.
Thank you very much, Felipe. Now to end, Zé Pedro.
You just mentioned two words, Sergio, awareness and skills, and I will pick those two because the main barrier that we find out there is sometimes a lack of alignment between top management and people that are on the front line. I would give my own example, and we see a lot of revenue managers, marketing executives, director of sales, people that are a new generation of people that is used to work with numbers. They cannot take any decisions without numbers. And that is one of the good things in terms of digital, because we always have some analytics and understanding whether or not our actions are getting the return. So we see them eager to gain the tools, to get new habits, to change processes, and to basically make sure that they are updated with what's happening out there. But most of the time, we don't see top management following it. So we see the new generation taking trainings, and I saw last year and this year, Tourism Portugal doing a great job in terms of having the upgrade program with a lot of trainings in terms of revenue management and other new trends that are going out there. But sometimes we see the top management look at us and look at those trends as well. This is just something that will pass by. We are used to work like that with spreadsheets, with these old ancillary tools. And probably these new trends will just pass by, and within 3 years, all those revenue management system tools and some others will not be here. But what they don't realize sometimes is that we are just here to stay. And not just talking about our own startup, but most of the startups are really here to stay because we have tested and proven some results. And one of the barriers is they look at us as a startup, a small company that is someone that will just do some pilots and some cheap prices. And it doesn't work like that, because most of the times what we are asking is just try to prove ourselves, making sure that you test us, that we get some metrics, and at the end of the pilots or at the end of the 6 months or the first 6 months, making sure that you have a goal for us and are sure that we will get accomplished. So that is one of the main barriers, would be that the alignment between those two areas in terms of decision making within the hotels and the companies in general.
Thank you, Zé Pedro. I think time's over for us. Just a little wrap up. Well, first of all, a great pleasure to be chatting with you within this almost an hour. I think it was a great chat and a great perspectives from you guys, and you are case studies. And I would like to pick on what Felipe has said here. Well, your case studies of things that made their way, survived to the challenges, and I would say progress and growth. I think we need those guys to be our ambassadors, that it is possible to build a profitable and viable product. At the same time, we still have, and I understand from your words, an opportunity for adoption, but we still have a work to play. And it's not only from our side, policymakers, it's also on your side to adapt your products, and it's also on the industry side to look at you as viable companies, just like any others. So there is no startups or other companies. We are all businesses. And finally, one thing that Felipe was mentioning, and that for me is one of the top things in my agenda right now, which is we need more InfraSpeaks, we need more Accelerates, we need more IGFs, we need more Legates. And this is a little bit the panel and the role of also the acceleration programs that we have within our community, and events like this is we need to build the future ones to have our ecosystem stronger and stronger for the future, and count on your enthusiasm. So now thank you very much, guys, for this talk. And we ended, I think, more or less on time. And back to you, Mariana, for the rest of the session. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Sergio, for these great insights, and all the panelists. Of course, we all know that COVID-19 played a difficult and challenging role when it comes to the startups on tourism. So it is a great pleasure to see all this energy and all these good things to happen. We are now entering our last LTS quest of LTS 2021 today. Are you ready for today's question? Remember the video at the beginning? Well, the question is, how many hotels does the Pestana Group have in Portugal? Remember, Pestana Hotel Group is one of the biggest hospitality groups in Portugal. The company has lots of hotels from north to south of the country, in awesome places, of course, urban places or not so urban. Today's introduction video was in one of the most iconic one. Do you remember where I was? How many hotels does Pestana Group has? So, a few seconds more. The question is, I can help. The question is between 99 and 101. So the answer is 100 hotels. Well, if you are ready for some inspiration, just wait for Proximio and Tripper presentations. Today, our first sparks will come from the next startups. Proximio is an API-first indoor navigation and positioning platform, and Tripper is helping tour operations to skyrocket sales. Please hear from Anina Cosquiola and Fernando Jardim, and make sure to participate in the poll to leave some feedback for the startups. So, I leave you with the two videos.
Hi, my name is Annina Koskela. I'm the CEO of Proximio, and I have come here to Naantali, Finland to visit one of our customers, Moomin World.
Proximio is a unified guidance solution that provides maps and navigation solutions to venues across the world. We have numerous customers from tourism sector, such as theme parks, hotel resorts, and museums, but we also work, for example, with shopping centers and hospitals. Maps can be used through a website, digital screen, or a mobile application. The solutions have been very much loved by the visitors. On average, a user does 28 navigation queries with our map during their visit to a theme park. A digital map provides a clear view for seeing what's available on site, what are the distances between different attractions, where are toilets and other amenities, and how to move across the site. In comparison with paper maps, the user will be able to see their own real-time location, which makes it easier to navigate. For the park, a digital map is easy to maintain and update when needed, so that the information is always correct. It helps save printing costs and trash coming from paper maps. Two additional benefits of the solution is, firstly, the ability to display hyper-targeted, location-based advertising within the map view.
And one of the best parts of the solution is actually what happens behind the scenes. That's the analytics on how people move around at the park. So what are the hotspots and what are the areas that maybe not so many people find? If you're interested in finding more about the Proximio offering, please contact us. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
I'm Fernando, and today I will show you how tour operators can skyrocket the sales. These are the top 10 activities in Portugal. And believe it or not, the world's longest suspended bridge, or the top European beach, or even the world's most beautiful caves are not there. Tour operators are losing thousands in sales just for not being there. And actually, 80% of the sales are done offline. This is a massive opportunity. And you should be asking yourself, why this happens? Tour operators are like those guys. They're small teams of 1 to 3 people, and they are just too busy operating their own activities. So they have no time to fill thousands of forms to upload their activities, marketing and sell, or even serve the customers. And they represent 64% of this market. And that's why we built Tripper. We automate all the tasks they don't have time to do it, so they can focus on the core business, operating their trips. So how does it work? So once they agree on a 10% commission, and that's it. They don't need to do anything else. So our bot scrape the offer, whatever they are, Facebook pages, websites, and so on. Then we add these activities on the main OTA platforms, such as TripAdvisor, Viator, and so on. Then we promote the activities so we can build traffic on it. And we just released a WhatsApp bot to scale customer operations. Finally, we do the sale and we connect with the agencies. We are very different from our competitors because everything is done automatically, and unless the competitors, we focus on locals and not tourists. As a result, we have worked with over 100 travel agencies, and since 2018, we have generated 3,000 leads without any paid media. And we just released our operations in Portugal. So we are looking for an investment of 250,000 euros for 10% of our company. So with that money, we can scale operations and serve even more customers. And we believe by the end of year 3, we will achieve an EBITDA of 3 million euros. We are the perfect team to accomplish that, as together we have several years in the startup and tourism sector. So who would like to join us and help to reshape the tourism industry? Talk to us.
And now let's find out how the future of holidays will look like. It is with great pleasure that I introduce our keynote speaker of the day, Chris Carmichael. Chris has been working in travel since 1991 and online travel since 1997. Over the last 15 years, he has specialized in innovation for travel, covering the rise of mobile and web 2.0 through the today's opportunities with virtual reality and artificial intelligence. During this time, Chris manages the corporate innovation team in the TUI Amusement division, delivering advanced new products with a focus on guest experience to enhance the holiday experience for over 20 million people per year. Don't forget to ask your questions on the Q&A section, and we will try to answer them all after the keynote speaker. Hello, Chris. Good morning. Ready for this?
Good morning, and
Hello.
Thank you very much for the introduction.
You're welcome. The stage is yours, Chris.
Great, thank you very much. I will just share my screen, and then we're ready to go. Okay, great. We can see that now. So, good morning, everybody. As I said, I'm Chris Carmichael, and I'm head of corporate innovation in TUI Amusement. So this morning, I thought it would be useful to share a little bit about how we work in our innovation space within TUI Amusement. And when I say finding the future of holidays, it doesn't necessarily mean I have found the future yet, but certainly give you an indication of how we approach things, the way we're working, and some of the areas that we've been investigating recently. I will kick off just by telling you a little bit about the business. Obviously, this is a European travel conference, so I don't think there's much point talking about TUI. I think we're pretty well known. The TUI Amusement part is maybe less known or less understood. So TUI Amusement has grown out of what was our traditional destination experiences business, where our focus used to be on running activities, running excursions, and selling those primarily through our rep network, our reps working in hotels all around the world. We're moving much more online now, and that's giving us a number of new opportunities. Size-wise, we're doing maybe 14 million guests a year, turnover of about 1.2 billion, and interestingly, this will come up later in the talk, we're dealing with around 31 million transfer guests or transfers a year, not all guests, because they go both ways and they sometimes go in between. Now, obviously, those figures are from 2019. We all work in tourism on this call, I'm sure, so it's not worth talking about 2020. But yeah, we're a pretty major player, and we're going through a fairly rapid movement to become much more digital in how we approach things, hence the name TUI Amusement. We purchased a startup out of Milan a couple of years ago, and that was the amusement part, and we're integrating them into our business so that we can increase how we do things online, increase our reach outside of the TUI world as well. So thinking about how we approach innovation, there's a lot of words on this screen. And again, if we're in technology innovation, we're probably dealing with all of these on a regular basis. So whether it's the new hot things, NFT seems to be one of the major talking points at the moment. Web3 seems to be coming up a lot as well. But we're still talking a lot about artificial intelligence, big data, augmented reality, edge computing, that kind of thing. It's really easy to get hooked onto these things and use them as a reason to be doing things, or something that we as innovators are really keen on working with. I think what we got to remember, and this is one of the primary filters that we use, is these mean nothing to most people. You know, we can be pretty interested in the technology, looking at how to use it, how to exploit it. But for most people, they are just end users. They're seeing the app that appears in their mobile phone. They're seeing the web page that you've created. They're seeing the digitally powered experience that you're giving them in destination, experiencing that. They don't care about what's going on there. So I think the first point that we would need to think about, and we regularly do, is figure out about the technology. Those are just the tools. We need to figure out more about what we're trying to do. That, of course, doesn't mean that I'm not actually interested in the technology. I'm probably not the selfie generation. But yeah, this is how I seem to spend a lot of my time looking through various devices. Again, we'll maybe talk a bit more about that later in the talk. So thinking about innovation within TUI. Trying to distill down how we're approaching things, I put it under 3 areas: the purpose, the priority, and our sourcing. So the purpose, first line says it, bringing forward the future TUI digital experience. It's very easy for large corporates like TUI to carry on doing what they've always done. Again, talking to this audience, I'm sure things like the innovator's dilemma are very familiar and very relevant to you. So for us, it's about making sure that we are not getting comfortable, that we are looking for the next thing, and making sure that we stay relevant. And with the relevance, I think we also need to talk about the priorities. So for me, it's very important that we are generally just ahead of the curve. We're not a science lab. We aren't going out and discovering brand new technologies and starting them from scratch. We're not working in industrial processes and looking for new chemical combinations of things. We're a tourism business, and we need to be relevant for our customers and our audience. So we try to be just ahead of the curve. Why is that important? The purpose and the priority. I've been working in innovation for quite a long time now. I've seen a number of innovation initiatives in different corporates come and go. And one of the big things that we've seen on a regular basis is the focus on doing something new, jumping onto the first slide. The first slide there with the different words and the new and exciting technologies that we can get into, focusing on something that's really far in advance. And what you see is the companies going in one direction and the innovation department just going too far ahead or going in an opposite direction and stopping being relevant. So it's very important that we stay relevant to our company and to our business. Then we look at sourcing. Where do we get our ideas? What do we do? We work a lot with incubators. We work a lot with startups. It's interesting conversation always, because we are such a scale that we need to be reasonably secure what we're bringing in and introducing. So the startups need to be at a reasonable level of maturity to really be getting onto our agenda. But we're constantly having those conversations. We're constantly looking at the market. I spend a lot of time looking at parallel industries, and I'll give you an example of this a little bit later. But again, tourism and travel tends to be quite an insular space, and there's a lot of focus on travel technology and travel innovation, etc. I try to look outside of that as much as I can, because there's so many people within our business who are looking at the next generation of their area. So I'm the guy that's going to try and find something that's coming from outside. As I say, we'll talk a little bit more later. And then we like to do lots of ideating and experimenting ourselves. I'm sure I'm not the only person on the call that wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning with the idea, writes it down, and then goes back to sleep. But yeah, we lots of things come up like that. So we're not a closed environment. TUI does like to work externally, does like to work with smaller businesses and startups, but making sure it's relevant to our business and something that's going to scale to the size of what we do. So this morning, I thought I would share 3 examples that show the different approaches that we take. So I'm going to look at one that's more focused on the guest experience and how we improve that, and really how we can start using technologies that are emerging or beginning to become mainstream in different ways to gain benefits. I'm going to look at the learning for the future, so maybe just a little bit further out to make sure that we're going in the right direction. And then I'll look at how we can use startups and great technology to really improve our operations. So we start with the guest experience. I got this graph from my colleague in the contact center a couple of days ago. So it's up to date to the end of last quarter. He does this on a quarterly basis. This is real data showing the change over the last almost 3 years in how our customers are contacting us. What you will see is the red line, the squiggly one, and the straight line, which is the trend, is massively increasing for what we call the TDA chat. The TDA is TUI's app. Internally, we call it the TDA, the TUI Digital Assistant. And there we have an asynchronous chat tool so that a customer, while they're sitting beside the pool on the sunbed, if they have a question or a query, they can send us a message and we get back to them. Interestingly, along with this is the decline in email. I think the decline trend isn't quite as prominent as it should be because of a slight spike around April, May 2020. Again, we've all lived through this. We know what was happening there. What we're seeing is our customers are doing more and more of their communication through the app, less and less through email. I removed SMS because it was just cluttering this already cluttered graph, because SMS is almost 0 now. And they're phoning us when there's something really quite important or something urgent to go to. So this is one of the feeds that we take into our customer experimentation and our customer understanding. We know where the customers are going, where the channels are changing, and what's actually happening. Aligned with this is some analysis that we did on what customers are actually speaking to us about. So again, because they are now talking to us primarily through a chat-based channel, they're sending us written text, it's relatively easy to gather all of that data and figure out what they're talking to us about. So we took a year's worth of data, we did quite a lot of crunching and analysis on that, and started to cluster and understand what it was that they were telling us. And basically, about a third of our questions that were coming from our customers were about what time their bus was coming for their transfer, what time their flight was going, or if there was any delays, what time a rep was going to be at the hotel, whether it was for asking questions or for booking excursion, that type of thing. So a third of the questions coming to our contact center from our customers through the most prominent and fastest growing channel were for data that we had sitting in-house in our data center. You know, we know what time the bus is going, when the transfer is going to be, because we're the guys that are scheduling it. And 2 days before the bus is going to go, the data's there. We know which driver, which bus, etc., etc. So we've traditionally had our data a bit hidden. And again, we'll talk on another example of that a little bit later on. But what we do have here is a very clear indication about what our customers are wanting, and where they're going, what channels they're using. So it gives us the opportunity to look at the technology. The obvious answer here is we should build a chatbot. If we go to any of our vendors, if we speak to multiple people in the industry, it's build a chatbot. We decided against that. I've done a lot of research in this space. I've spoken to a number of people, again, parallel industries. I spent some time going to contact center conferences and speaking to people in that space to get a much wider view. And the general response is, if you're getting 20 to 30% accuracy or answers out of your chatbot, you're doing really well. And to me, I turn that around and say, so 70 to 80% of the time, your bot is not actually able to handle your customer's question. And generally what people were doing was making them change track. Sorry, bad analogy on the slide. But you know, we're in a world now where we spend a lot of time talking about being omni-channel, being there for the customer in whatever channel they want to work with, consistent. Yet we force them into a chatbot. There's a 1 in 5 chance that we can actually help them, and the rest of them, they then have to go off and do something else. So we took a different approach. We've used the underlying technology. You know, as I say, I'm interested in these technologies. We know that some of the AI capabilities are useful and can do something more for us. So we looked at semantic understanding, sentiment analysis, and built that into our existing channel. So I mentioned we have the app. That's where most of our customers are talking to us now. What we've done is put the chatbot technology, a little bit more hidden, inside the existing channel rather than through a separate front end. That means for our customers, whenever they have a question, they go into their app, still sitting beside the pool on their sunbed, they send us a message. If the bot understands it and thinks it's something it can answer and should answer, they get an answer within 5 seconds. So the common queries about what time is the bus coming, we answer those. Within 2 or 3 seconds, they get the answer. They know exactly what the latest status is. If it's something that it doesn't feel it should answer, maybe the customer is sounding angry or concerned, or it just doesn't recognize what's going on, then it sends it through to the customer contact center. The contact center answers, not in 2 or 3 seconds, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes later. The good thing about this approach is our customers always get the answer. So this is a bit of a story, obviously, but what we've done is taking new technologies that we were interested in looking at, but basing this on a real, genuine guest needs, and use the technologies to improve things and improve the experience. It improves the experience for the contact center as well, because they're not spending their time doing very simple things that don't add a lot of value. They are now have more time to help the customers that really need it. And I thought, as an example of how we can focus on the guest experience and innovate using the lenses that we mentioned previously, it was a good one to share. We also spend a lot of time looking at the future and what's coming next. And I like to normally have a few experiments on the go that are maybe just a little bit further out, but are very useful to help shape where we're going next. And in these areas, we're looking at primarily 3 different things. So what are our guests likely to be using in the future? Because a lot of this is very much customer-led. Where would the customer expect us to be? We can't be everywhere, and if we're in the wrong places, it's going to be obvious. We're either going to be useless or annoying for our customers. So making sure we are where we need to be, and then understanding the basic capabilities of any new technology or any new social or technological change. Why do we need to understand all of this? I'd like to know whether there's a business case, where it's likely to sit, and whether I should be doing something now, 2 years' time, 4 years' time, or just it's irrelevant to us. A good example might be something around mobile. So we look at mobile today. We've all had smartphones in our pockets for the last decade. And in the first few years, every year there was something new, something exciting, something that was changing. It was a fast-moving industry, very interesting to watch from the outside or be part of. Over the last few years, what we've seen is pure stagnation. Every year, Apple has its big event, Google has its big event, Samsung has their big event, and it's a little bit shinier, it's a little bit rounder on the corner, the battery lasts a bit longer, it's a bit thinner, the camera's a little bit better, the screen's got more hertz, even though you can't see it. Nothing's really happening. This means that the market is now ready for the next challenge. We also look at the customer experience here. You've got a pretty expensive lump of glass that's in your pocket. It's easy to break, hence the photo. And it's primarily useful for sharing, but yet we only look at it ourselves. What do I mean by that? There are other technologies that are coming along that will be far more personal. And the only advantage that the phone has over those is for sharing, whereas the others are going to be much more just for you. So we've got a stagnant market, devices that are probably not optimized around what they're good at. And that means that we need to start looking at what's coming next. One of the areas that we're looking at the moment, we've done some experimentation on, is around mixed reality, augmented reality. So in our scenario, it's about how we can improve the experience for a customer who's on an excursion. Using this technology, people can get something relevant to them. So the lady on the left may be getting information about the architecture, whereas the lady on the right is focusing more on the history. We can make it very engaging. So in the trials that we've done, we've built a dragon hunt in an area of Palma where we had problems with dragons a few years ago until one of the local knights sorted it. Or we can overlay how parts of the city used to look with new. How this changes against things like virtual reality is the customer is still completely engaged in the excursion and what they're doing. So it's a very positive experience for them. They're on a tour, they're with a guide, they're with their family, they're participating in that, seeing everything that's going on, but getting this additional information. So as a technology, we're beginning to understand what this means for us, what we need to do in the future, where it's likely to be relevant to us in the excursion activity business. Moving on to the third example, and cutting edge operations. I think probably it's good to start with one of my favorite stories. And if we were doing this in person, I would probably ask for the background. But we can't do that today, sadly, despite the power of Zoom. So what you will recognize is a random picture from the internet about check-in on for an airline. And I like to ask, why do airlines have check-in? And why was check-in always 24 hours before the flight? And most people don't really know this. I mean, there's lots of stories today, and certainly with mobile check-in and online check-in, airlines have focused a lot more now on things like adding in extra ancillaries, trying to do upsells, building APIS processes, etc. But if we go back 5 years, not much more, none of that was actually around for the airline. So it was just a process people had to do 24 hours before their flight. The reason why they did this is because the cruise ships do this. Why did the cruise ships do this? It's because before the cruise ships, before we had steam and diesel powered ships, we had sailing ships. And the captain of the ship wanted every passenger who was going to be going on the ship to be in port and available to board the ship the day before, so that when the wind was right, when the tide was right, the ship could go. So why do we have online check-in? It's because of wind and tides for sailing ships. This is something that really happens today. And actually, one of the previous speakers talked about it. Businesses are really bad at going back and looking at what they need to achieve. They are constantly building on what they already know and what they already do. And what we face in our industry is people who are improving a process, improving a technology, improving an experience, but basing this on decisions that were maybe made back in the 1970s or the 1960s, limited by the technology and the capabilities that were available then. So one of the key things that we like to do is to start stripping back the needs, what we're actually trying to achieve, from how we do things today, what we've always done, what the industry does. It's really difficult to do because you bring a group of industry experts that really know their area into a room, and they know all of this stuff inside out. It's very difficult to get them sometimes to focus on the actual end needs and remove that from their experience. But it's a really, really important way of looking at things. One of the examples we've done recently is do this in how we plan and operate our transfers. So if you remember back to the beginning, we are doing more than 31 million transfers a year. And to give you an idea of what that means in reality, somewhere like Palma, Mallorca, a very busy destination for us, we can do 30,000 transfers in a day. So that's maybe 15,000 people who were finishing their holiday, who are one of over 100 hotels all around the island, having to be taken to the airport and to get onto one of the hundreds of flights going out that day. And then coming in on those flights are another 15,000 people who need to go to the same hotels. To manage something that scale in the most efficient way possible, making sure that we aren't spending all of our money on buses, but our customers still get a good experience, is a huge logistical problem. By being able to go back to the actual requirements, we could also look at problems in how we've operated things. So again, we have lots of information that the customer actually needs, but it's hidden in our data centers. So by being able to get the information out to the customers and tell them, when you arrive at Palma, go out the airport, turn right, you're looking for bus number 590. Most of our customers can then do that. It improves the process for them. It gives them confidence. They know what they're going to be doing when they arrive. And it challenges how we've always done things, because we've looked at how we've improved the guest experience by putting more people in. But actually that doesn't meet the requirement. How we built this is, well, primarily looking at what the basic requirements are, looking at what the runners, the repeaters, and the strangers are in the airport environment, and figuring out, most of our customers can walk out of the airport and get on a bus if we tell them where it is and what number. Some of our customers are going to be delayed. What do we need to do about those? Some of our customers need extra help. What do we do about those? Then in the innovation space, we've looked at how we can use the technology, what type of technologies are out in the market to help us there. And again, looking in parallel industries, I spent a lot of time looking in the smart city space, because smart cities are doing a lot about automation and the movement of people. We found there a few suppliers, but we focused on one in particular who is a very small startup. They're based in Boston, very close ties with MIT over there. And they've got this really great way of planning and being able to react very, very quickly. Our previous solution took a couple of hours normally to pull a plan that we're now doing in a few seconds. So we're now able to completely change our airport model bit by bit by having real-time data we can share directly with our customers, the ability to show them where things are, track them, etc., etc. So by going back and looking at the original process and what the actual needs were, taking them away from how we've always done things and the knowledge we have, we've got to a situation where we are going to have a completely new experience, much more aligned from what the customer needs, and it's much more efficient for us as well. So running out of time, just wrapping up on this one, very quick summary, few takeaways. We don't need to be a science lab. Not everybody has to be inventing the future. There are a lot of the tools and the capabilities that we need that can make things much better today without waiting for the things that are 10 years out. We need to understand where our guests, our customers are today and how to make things better for them. How they access things, what data they need, what they use to manage their own holidays, because letting people do that puts it in their hands, and then we're there to support. And also, we need to keep an eye on what's coming in the near future. So again, not looking 10 years into the future, but a couple of years away. Where are they likely to be? What are they like to expect from us? We need to keep revisiting the decisions in the past, so we don't keep building a better version of the thing that we've been building for 40 years, but actually go back occasionally and look at what the basic requirements are. And then the last thing, big letters, because it's something that we do a lot of, is try to test and do it cheaply and quickly. We've had tests that have been out and tested live with customers with technology, not just paper, for under €1,000. So the reason to do this is huge, and the reason not to, it's very small if you can build something that looks good enough to at least get the feedback. And with that, as we're so near to the end of the time, I will finish. I'll just say thank you. And I think we've maybe got a couple of minutes for any questions.
That's right. Thank you, Chris. So, in TUI, you manage the corporate innovation team in the TUI Amusement division, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
What kind of technology are you most excited about and cannot wait to implement with your clients?
It varies day to day. I think mixed reality is going to be huge for the tourism industry. The ability to be engaged in something while getting extra information, getting the things that you're very interested in, personalized content, I think is huge. But at the same time, we're making big gains by robotic process automation. It's really simplifying a lot of our old ways of doing things without having to completely change all of our old systems all at once. Artificial intelligence is giving us opportunities in a number of spaces, and we're already seeing really good examples of how we can improve the customer experience. So yeah, it changes day to day, but there always seems to be something that's driving things forward for us.
In your career, you delivered many customer-focused proof of concepts trials for British Airways and TUI. What do you think are the key drivers for a company to achieve digital transformation nowadays?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. I think I touched on some of this already. We do need to remember that a lot of our decisions and a lot of the way we do things are based on the right decision 40 years ago. The restrictions that were there then aren't necessarily in place now. So when you're doing your digital transformation, don't just think about a better version, a more digital, a more complete version of what you're doing today. You do need to go back and think about what the drivers are, what you're actually aiming for, and challenge everything. Again, there's a lot of comments I've seen within our industry. So I'm not just talking about my business, but within our industry about, but this is what our customers want. This is how we've always done things. It's not necessarily true, because we're our customers. I sat in a meeting not that long ago where, the over 40s don't really want to use mobile. They're not a generation that's going to use technology. We need to focus this just on the younger. And say, hang on a minute, we're the generation that had really complex VCRs to program. Most of us are okay with a mobile phone, and so keep challenging and keep going back to the basics.
We have a question from the audience. Do you foresee that augmented reality will make tour guides redundant in some way?
No, I don't think so. A good tour guide adds so much to the experience. You know, I've been on a number of tours. I mean, I've worked in this industry for a long time, and I've taken holidays. You get really good people who can really bring a destination, the experience, the sights, the sounds, the flavors to life. And then you get people who just make you walk around and you know, read out what you could read on Wikipedia. There's always going to be a job for the first group. And
last question. Is it harder for SMEs to digitize, than for a large corporation like TUI Musement?
I mean, my view is probably a little bit different because I've only worked in very large companies. Mm-hmm. I would hope it's actually simpler for the SMEs. Obviously, the capital available and the risk model is quite different. But when we're doing something, I've got to move up to 60,000 people and change their direction and replacing systems that have had millions of euros invested. So yeah, there's quite a number of conversations that I would imagine that you wouldn't have with the SMEs, but the other side of it is we do have a lot more resources available there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris, for your time and for such an inspirational talk. So this was interesting and amazing, right? The moment has come now for the ones of you who have managed to obtain our special tickets to meet today's keynote speaker, Chris Carmichael, in an exclusive sessions or with only a small group. Join the link now that we have shared with you in order to enter the Zoom meeting where you will be able to interact and learn more about the future of holidays. In the meantime, our main stage will go on the 20 minutes break. Grab a coffee, relax your eyes, stretch, and we will back soon with more innovation sparks and two fantastic keynotes. See you in a bit. Thank you. Hello, welcome back again to our last day of the Lisbon Tourism Summit 2021 edition. Now, here are some more innovative ideas that we could find in the future of tourism. Are you ready? Our last innovation sparks for this year's LTS comes from PPay and Turno.pt. PPay enables contactless payments without apps or sign-ups, just by scanning a QR code. Turno.pt is a solution to help companies manage shifts to better fit the customer flows. Using data from bookings, building access, or any other source, Turno.pt is able to adjust the number of co-workers needed to specific days and shifts. Let's see the videos of Michael Negin and Ricardo Fernandes about the information of their startups.
Hello everyone. I'm honored to have the opportunity to pitch in front of you all today. A big shout out to the Beta I team and Turismo de Portugal for making this event possible. I'm Michael Nguyen, and I'm the founder of PipPay, a people-first payments platform. Since COVID, we've seen the rise of contactless payments. However, this is not the reality for micro businesses. They struggle to adopt new technology because nothing has been built with these owners in mind. Cash to them is simple and easy. They do not want to be on their phones or have to buy and learn how to use a new expensive point-of-sale machine just to get paid. PipPay is easier than cash, and businesses can begin accepting contactless payments without any new technology. They don't even need a smartphone. The entire payments process is placed into the hands of the consumers. Checkout happens in 3 steps. Customers scan our QR code. They then get taken to a web page to put in how much they need to pay, and then they can pay securely from their phones with Apple Pay, Google Pay, or a saved card. Businesses can verify payments at a glance by simply looking at the receipt on the customer's phone or by checking their own text messages for a confirmation text. There are no apps to download, no hardware to set up, and no technology to learn or overcome. Ultimately, we envision an ecosystem of recovery, where tourists are encouraged to use PipPay as a safe alternative to cash, and make sure that economic resilience happens from the ground up. We are excited to partner with government and financial institutions to make sure that no business gets left behind. With PipPay, we can help businesses transition to digital payments with a single piece of paper. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Fernandes. I'm the developer manager of Turno.pt, a smart operations platform that allows companies to assign shifts to coworkers in a custom and automated fashion. Turno.pt is a software like no other. It allows each company, from hotels, restaurants, and transportation companies, to custom their own shifts, their own schedules, their own parameters, in order to create a specific algorithm that will create and generate in a monthly or annual basis the full schedule for each coworker that the company have. This is a software that has a lot of potential because it reduces the amount of effort that the resource manager, the HR manager, team manager, or even the CEO of a company needs to do on a daily basis in order to manage the assignment of each coworker to shifts and vice versa. So Turno.pt has this as a core functionality, but much more in terms of core HR functionality and timesheets capabilities. So I ask you guys to check Turno.pt and see how we can help you to manage effectively shifts and shift assignment in a smart way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael and Ricardo, for your presentations, and thank you to you for your valuable feedback on these projects. Today, we have some very special guests coming up for you. First, please welcome Mr. Rui Inácio, the Director for Regional Policy at the National Agency for Development Cohesion. Hello, Rui, good morning.
Sorry, just
it's okay.
Turning off.
How are you? Welcome.
Hello. Good morning.
Good
Mariana,
morning.
How are you? So, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and on behalf of the Agency for Development and Cohesion, I would like to thank Beta High for this opportunity to participate in this event, and to give some picture, a broad picture of the support of the European funds to the economy, namely to the tourism sector, or to the opportunities that tourism sector could have through the European funds. I have a small presentation I would like to share with you. Just let me promote the sharing of the presentation. And then I think it will work. Okay. No, I think you are seeing the wrong screen. Just let me. And then. Okay. And now I will share it. It will be okay. So,
how European funds can support the digitalization of economy, namely tourism. So, Rui, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariana. It is a very interesting opportunity to speak to you 3 days after the launch of the public consultation on one of the documents that I will present briefly during my presentation, which is Portugal 2030, which will put under public consultation in last Monday, and it will be under public consultation for the next 15 days, and it will be one of the main instruments of support financed by EU funds for the next decade. But let me begin by the beginning. This is to say that the support of European funds is based both on the existence of European priorities, namely during this time in a post-pandemic time, to recover from the pandemic, as well as to promote cohesion and convergence among European member states, and of course, in terms of digital transition and the promotion of the tourism sector, I would like to highlight the new industrial agenda of the European Union as a guideline for the definition of, for public policies in European Union member states. Of course, in Portugal, we also have a strategic guideline for the action of the public administration for the next decade. It was designed from 2017 till 2020. It was adapted to the pandemic, and it was approved by the government last year. And it is called the Strategy Portugal 2030. And it will provide the background for the programming of both the Resilience and Recovery Program and of the Portugal 2030, which will be the strategic framework for the mobilization of European funds, namely cohesion policy funds, during the next decade. this strategy is based on the following vision: recover the economy and protect jobs in order to answer the outcomes of the pandemic in social and economic terms. Also making the next decade a period of recovery and convergence between Portugal and Europe. That convergence was restarted by the mid of the next decade. Since 2016 that we are converging with Europe in national terms, even if in regional terms it is there is a more mixed picture on that path, and try to to promote also more resilience and social and territorial cohesion in order to spread out through the territory, through the different strands of population, the benefits of that convergence and the results that we could get from the recovery. This strategy is based in 4 agendas, 3 thematic agendas and 1 cross-cutting agenda on territory. The first agenda, the first thematic agenda, is the agenda more focused on people, namely in terms of demographic balance, in order to fight the demographic imbalances that Portugal is facing and it is expected to face during the coming years, to improve the inclusion in social terms in order to avoid exclusion, and also to promote more equality, both in gender terms, in other types of the discrimination, also regarding the inequality in terms of earnings from the people for people and so on. The second agenda, and I think it will be the most important agenda for our conference today, is the agenda based on digitalization, innovation and qualifications as development drivers. It is based on 4 different strands of qualification, if I could say so. One is the promotion of a knowledge-based society, in order to guarantee that we have the production of knowledge, not only in our academic system, but also outside it, in our, for instance, in our cultural industry, and so on, that could give us the added value needed to promote innovation. Second, to promote the innovation of companies and to qualify them in order they can be competitive in international in the international arena. And the third one is a sort of very instrumental but very needed in Portugal, as well as everywhere in the world, but namely in Portugal, the qualification of the Portuguese people. This is to say, the qualification of human resources, of people that we need to work in these new firms that we try to have here in Portugal also. And of course, as a basis for these 3 strands of qualification, there's a need to qualify the public administration, the state as a whole, in order it can promote the right conditions, so both the companies, the people, and the knowledge society could grow and could succeed. This third agenda is a very mainstream one. It's a very important one. We are just getting closing the last COP 26 in Glasgow, and it deals with the climate transition and the sustainability of resources. This is to say the path to decarbonization of the Portuguese society and economy, the path to shift from a linear economy paradigm to a new circular economy paradigm, and so on. And the fourth agenda, based on the cross-cutting agenda regarding the need to promote these three thematic agendas, taking into account the different territorial contexts that we have in Portugal, and the need to promote the networks we need in terms of transportation, in terms of digital connectivity, and so on, that we need to promote a more balanced country that could be competitive in external terms, that could converge with the EU average, but without diverging internally. These priorities that I just mentioned are the basis for both the programming of Portugal 2030, which is the name of the strategic framework, if I may say so, for the programming of 2021-2027 cohesion policy funds. We, as I mentioned in the beginning, as just developed the first draft of this partnership agreement. We also just sent it to the European Commission and just launched the public consultation on that. This document establishes the main strategic objectives for the application of the European funds for the next programming period. It will be programmed around these 5 policy objectives to promote a more competitive and smarter European Union, and in this case, a more competitive and smarter country, a country a greener country, a more connected country, a more social and inclusive country, and a country more closer to citizens. And of course, I will be touched upon namely on the more competitive and smarter country. This is to say that also the Recovery and Resilience Plan, which was approved by the European Commission last July, is the other European funded program, which is based in the Portugal 2030 strategy, and which could give some support to public policies regarding digitalization and the development of the tourism sector. It is programmed around 3 dimensions: resilience, climate transition, and digital transition. And of course, for the purpose of today's conference, I would like to stress the importance of the digitization of companies, the component 16 companies, companies 4.0, and also there are also important investments regarding culture and digitization of culture, as well as the promotion of innovation in tourism sector in the component C5. What are the main challenges that these 2 programs, these 2 financing instruments could deal with, or could help to answer? First of all, regarding the digitization, we need to promote the digitization of our companies, which is below the average in the European Union. Namely, if we take into account the indicator regarding the percentage of sales by e-commerce, which is below the average. We need also to promote the qualification of our workers in digital terms. The share of people with basic digital skills in Portugal is is less than the average, also the average of the European Union, and we need to promote that qualification, because it is important not only for the workers but also for the potential clients for the tourism sector and even other sectors. And of course that we need a more efficient, a more proner public administration that could boost efficiency for our companies and our citizens as well. And regarding tourism, taking into account that we are included in a region which is the first world destination for tourism, which is Europe, there are important challenges that Portugal is facing today, and which could be also answered by the funds, namely the revolution, if I could say in that way, of that pandemic brings to tourism, not only because it leads to a strong decrease on the tourism flows, but also because it will shape the way people will do tourism from now on. Of course, that in countries like Portugal, where tourism is an important sector, it also has a strong macroeconomic effect, because taking into account that tourism in Portugal used to have a weight in the GDP around 10%. The fact that the tourism sector almost collapsed in 2020 leads also, or contributes also, for a strong decrease in GDP in 2020. We are now facing, and it is very mainstream during these days in Portugal, the lack of qualified human resources, both in the overall economy, but of course, namely in the tourism sector, where qualification is not regarding people with a degree, but also people that are able to perform adequately the tasks regarding tourism sector, even if it is not a specific degree or a tertiary degree. The deficits in digitalization that we highlighted before, in terms of companies as well as in terms of human resources and workers, are also present in some of the touristic experience that we can offer, namely when we think on promotion of heritage, of museums and so on, of cultural sites, and even in terms of tourist offers, there are an important work to do in order to lead them to digital world, if I say so. And of course, not all the challenges are bad, but they represent new realities. And one new reality coming from the pandemic is the remote work, which could represent a very interesting area for tourism sector, taking into account that we are facing a new demand for places to people to live and to work from, even if, for instance, they work for Frankfurt or for Paris or for Barcelona or for Madrid, and they could be working from a place in Portugal, namely a place on low density areas and so on in Portugal, which could lead also to the discovery and the exploitation and unlocking of the touristic potential of those places. So how can we provide and contribute to these challenge, to answer these challenges from these two main instruments I referred in the beginning? In the case of the Recovery and Resilience Plan, there are supports to enhance digital skills among population, namely between active population which are already working. There are a strong effort to digitalize both companies as well as public services, including health, as well as to promote digitalization of the culture sites, namely museums, even theaters, and so on. And of course, regarding the companies, there are support to the development of new business models for companies, namely based on the digital economy. In the Portugal 2030, we have a more broader scope of support, which also entails support to citizens, companies, and public administration to promote digitalization in their relationships, namely in the relationship between the public administration and companies and citizens, in order to lead that relationship to be as easiest as possible to both citizens and companies. There are some investment provided for the reinforcement of digital connectivity, namely with the promotion of new broadband networks for low density areas, or for the areas where the market are not keen to invest. Of course, that there are under the European Social Fund Plus the support to the development and the improvement of digital competences for the labor market, and it includes not only the workers and the employees, but also the managers and the hierarchy in firms, so that all the firm could understand and be up to the task of the change to the digital world, and as I said before, unlock the potential of low density areas and the role of medium-sized cities to be smart hubs of the process of digitization, in order to spread the benefits coming from digitization of the economy and society to the different territories that compound Portugal. And just to conclude, I would like to say that in very practical terms, that Portugal 2030 will start to be negotiated with the Commission, with the European Commission, in the coming weeks, and we will have in our proposal, which is already public, support to digitalization, and namely targeted to tourism sector and to SMEs in that area, namely supports on the policy objective 1, where there will be support for new models of business and digitalization of companies and SMEs, including of course tourism sector in that policy objective. I'm sorry, in that policy objective, it will also be supported the reinforcement of digital connectivity with a special focus on low density areas, and there will also an investment regarding the digitization of our cities in a sort of smart city approach that we will try to put on the ground during the next years. In terms of European Social Fund under Policy Objective 4, it will be there will be the support not only the competences, there will be the support to the digital competences of our workers as well as our managers, but also under the ERDF, there will be a support to there will be the support to tourism and other activities related to tourism, as for instance culture and so on, in order to promote their economic development, the improvement of cultural heritage, the promotion of touristic and cultural routes, and the improvement of services on that area. And under Policy Objective 5, there will be support to the territorial integrated strategies that will be promoting the potential of each territory in touristic terms, and the unlocking of their economic potential, where tourism is very important also as one of the driving sectors of that of the potential of that territories. Regarding the Recovery and Resilience Plan, I would like to highlight the existence of support for the digitalization of culture, both in terms of digitalization of the material heritage under our, namely in our museums, as well as the modernization, the digitalization of some immaterial heritage that we also have, and it will provide, or the goal is to provide new touristic experiences, and the new experience to the tourist, to the visitor, to that museums and to that cultural heritage. As I mentioned before, the component 16 will be focused on the investment on digitization of companies, development of new models of business, the existence of test beds, of digital innovation hubs, where where projects as the ones that we seen before my presentation could be developed and then be scaled up to the market. And of course, the existence of an investment, an important and huge investment on the efficiency of public administration based on digitalization of their processes and procedures will be very important to unlock the potential of our firms, and to let them focus on their businesses, and not on the paperwork that they have to do for comply with some rule or another, reducing in this case reducing bureaucracy. And thank you for the opportunity. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, Rui Inácio, for your presentation. I have a question for you, if it's possible. The process of applying to European funds is not so easy for small companies or for startups that are beginning their businesses. What do you suggest to make the process easier to them?
We are investing a lot on the streamlining of that procedures. We have made a very important work on that area. For instance, 10 years ago, or even less than that, some of the applications were done in paper, and nowadays all the applications are made through digital terms. There are a lot of small procedures that are already being digitalized, and we are making all the efforts to provide that all SMEs could apply to the support of the funds in the easiest way we can. On that area, I would like to also highlight the fact that we here in the agency and for the next period of EU funds we are developing a roadmap for capacity building of different stakeholders in the ecosystem of the funds. This is to say not only the people that manage the funds, but also including the beneficiaries and the potential beneficiaries, in order to let them the right tools so they can be fit for the task of to present an application, to have a project supported, and then to comply with all the rules that we need to comply with. And also, of course, there are a very, very strong investment on the simplification and the bureaucratization of the EU funds, which, as I said before, it is a never-ending work because there is always room for improvement. But we need also to highlight that there is a very important steps that are already been made, even if there are already room to improve.
Challenges for sustain, right? Okay, thank you, Mr. Rui Inácio, for being here with us, and have a nice day.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we invite our last speaker to the stage, let me remind you to join our LTS community on LinkedIn. Here's where we'll keep the LTS spirit alive and where you can interact with like-minded people, comment on the events, and share insights. You can find the link on the chat right now. As you all know, institutional and governmental support is essential for innovation in our society and in the tourism industry. It is a great honor to welcome Secretary of State for Tourism, Mrs. Rita Marques, to share some closing remarks for this year's Lisbon Tourism Summit event. Hello, Rita, welcome.
Hello, Mariana. Hello. I hope you can hear me and see me well.
Yes,
Hello,
I can
everyone.
see you and
okay.
hear you well. Thank you. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks so much. So first of all, let me thank everyone for having me today. I thank the invitation from BETA-I, BETA-E in Portuguese. It has been a real pleasure to work with you for a couple of years now, in fact. So this is an event that has been, replicated across the years. So very much eager to continue to work on this dimension, innovation and tourism. I also like very much to congratulate, the partners, all the speakers, all the participants of this year's summit, last year's summits as well. We had, very interesting sessions today. I had the chance to hear and to be present in a couple of them. We talked about specific big data sustainability, the role of startups after this pandemic, challenging months. Also the future of tourism in what relates to innovation, the funding part. It's also very important, to get the right money, the right investors on board. And so all these themes, all these topics are quite important nowadays. And as far as the Secretary of State is concerned, and as far as Tourism of Portugal is concerned, so the National Tourism Board, our vision, is quite clear. I would say quite crispy as far as the importance of innovation. As far as the importance of innovation should play in the tourism sector. And this is very much reflected in our tourism strategy. So a couple of years ago, we outlined a strategy for the sector, and Portugal continues to be very focused to be a leading country in what innovation in tourism is concerned. And so people might ask us, so how are you managing to achieve that? And in fact, we have been working with all the partners, I would say. We do have, a couple of programs that have been launched, acceleration programs, startup innovation programs. And the pandemic opened up a window of opportunity for innovation tourism. So we know that installed companies have been trying to drive innovation, but they need to respond now to new demand trends, to overcome new limitations imposed by this pandemic. And I guess this is a great opportunity to mingle even more the installed firms' expectations and startups' bold ambition. And so these new needs, these new habits, open up, new markets for startups, for incumbent companies as well. And it became quite clear this need to work together in a couple of panel discussions we had earlier today. Portugal offers excellent living, working conditions for entrepreneurs, for innovators. Web Summits gave a real boost on this regard. A few weeks ago, I guess that a couple of you know that we have Web Summit in Lisbon with more than 40,000 participants coming all over the world. And it was really a proof that people want to be together and that it's possible to organize big events in a safety way in Portugal. And so we have been affirming ourselves as a leading destination for this public, I would say, digital nomads. We have been scoring very high in Expat Insider. Just recently, Expat Insider considered us to be, one of the top leading destinations as far as digital nomads are concerned. So we do have, a couple of conditions that are very well appreciated by this type of people. Also, we have Insure My Trip rank. We have nomad lists. And basically, let me, highlight very much what we've been doing in Madeira, because we've been working with Madeira, and I have to address, this case in specifically because the project started as a pilot at Ponta do Sol, so in a nice spot in Madeira Island, and it lasted for a couple of months, and now Madeira ascended to be one of the best destinations to work remotely according to the Nomad list. And this means that with a great effort, first with a great strategy, with a great effort, with a great team, we can make it. We have been supporting startups from the very beginning. I already mentioned that. We do have with our National Tourism Board the Fostering Innovation Tourism Program. We have been developing pretty much 5 editions already. And we have been nurturing more than 1,000 projects, corresponding pretty much to €5 million of investment. And the selection results for this 2021 edition are about to become public. So we have been, trying to continue to boost the energy and to boost the means in order to maintain this Fostering Innovation Tourism Program across the sector. And again, the results are coming out because very recently, FocusWire, they identified the hot 25 startups for 2022, and we managed to include 3 startups that have participated in our Fostering Innovation Tourism Program. That's Keto Dynamics, Local Pursue, and Will the World, that have been, considered to be one of the top, the hot and top startups for 2022 in the tourism sector as well. So basically, my message here is to highlight that this is a work in process homework. So we have the strategy, we are trying to put all the means in order to make it happen. And now a couple of results already, are coming out, and this is amazing. So this is amazing. And again, with the pandemic, I do believe that we can really have a huge opportunity for us to continue in the right track. Last but not the least, I would like very much to say that the ongoing transformation demands training and upskilling of those that work in the tourism sector. we have been launching a great number of training programs related with innovation, management, digitalization, sustainability, and we'll continue to pursue that track. In fact, this week we just started a new edition of Upgrade. Upgrade is our program, our capacity program for all the workers in the sector. And again, I'm very excited to share that we have, thousands of participants again enrolled in this type of training sessions. So we'll continue to meet. We'll continue to meet all the startups, all the entrepreneurs, all the investors, and giving them, the right framework to work with us. I strongly believe that tourism has a future. I'm also completely convinced that without tourism, there is no future. And if we put, innovation on top of this, that's the secret sauce, I would say. So it all makes a rationale, tourism, future, innovation. So that's why I'm very much excited to have the chance to continue to work with you, all the startups, all the partners, all the investors, in order for us to continue this leadership track that we have been pursuing across a couple of years now. So thank you again for having me, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Rita, for your words and for being here with us, supporting the Lisbon Tourism Summit. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, this edition of the Lisbon Tourism Summit doesn't end now. You are invited to join our networking event at Pestana Palace from 5 to 9 today. For the last 3 years, we had the opportunity to know more about lots of things, like a window to the world through tourism, innovation and business. In my memory persists the incredible energy of the digital nomad Rowena Hennigan, the free-falling jump of Gabrielle O'Hare, and the ideas for the future of holidays with Chris Carmichael keynote speaking. Of course, we had the opportunity to hear more about AI technology, how startups can help on a post-COVID era, and of course, about what cities will be in a few years. All the inspirational pitches from Innovation Sparks are in top of my mind. Before we go, I would like to thank Turismo de Portugal as the main partner of this event, and to all the Journeys partners, Grupo Barraqueiro, Parques de Sintra, Pestana, Unicre and Visa. Last but not the least, I would like to thank you all for being here with us. You were part of this too, and a very important part, I have to say. It was a pleasure to host this event on innovation, startups, inspiration and disruptive solutions. And this was my last words. Take care, let's talk business in tourism, and I hope we can meet again soon. See you.